Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, boys and girls. Once again, it is Tuesday evening and it is 8 o'clock ish. And we are here on Facebook Live recording another episode of the Raw Islam podcast. And we are ready to go tonight. We have a lot of things to talk about. We did a little pre-show meeting and I get to make some really cool vocal noises tonight. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me stop talking and introduce the Imam, the hardest working Imam that I know, Imam Azhar.
Hey everybody, assalamu alaikum. Welcome once again to another episode of Raw Islam with Imam Azhar and Carl. And we welcome you tonight during the great ceremony of Olympics and the games that are ongoing on the other side of the world in South Korea. We welcome you here for half an hour of your time on a weekly basis, where again, we're going to discuss contemporary matters in light of Islam to empower you, the listener, to understand that faith and life isn't two separate entities, rather they're intertwined, and that's what makes us complete, and that allows us to be good human beings to others and the rest of the creation. So Carl, you have something that you were going to say.
I do. In the middle of tweeting out the link. Hold on. Yeah, no, again, pre-show meeting we were talking and I was saying that for the last, I don't know, 3-4 days, I haven't had access to my TV. And if anybody knows me, they know that I'm a TV addict. I like my TV, but I haven't really had access to it because my 14-year-old has been avidly watching everything that is DVR'd from the Olympics that are taking place right now as we speak. And I will confess that I'm an X Games guy. That's the only sport I watch and follow is the X Games. But with that being said, I do watch the snowboarding, but beyond that, I got nothing. I don't know who any of these people are or what they're doing or even why they're on my TV. So, but yes, the Olympics, the 2017-16 month year, the 2018 Olympics are taking place as we speak.
2018 Olympics in South 14 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. It's another day, it's another time over there. But it's just an amazing event. Happens every 4 years, the Winter Olympics, every 4 years, the Summer Olympics, 2 years gap between both Olympics. And, there's just, again, your daughter's DVRing everything and she's watching it. The one thing that I was upset was that we had to watch the opening ceremony recorded earlier that day, and they showed it on Friday night. But there was two things that I want to highlight in regards to the opening ceremony. Yes, the games are amazing. Yesterday was a snowboarding for women. America, I think, got gold and bronze. That being said, the wind gusts were extreme, and so there's a lot that takes in your skills, which we could bring an Islamic twist to. But let's go to the opening ceremony first. Away from by two things. Number one was, did you see the drones, Carl?
The drones? No, I didn't see drones.
So Intel had a display of 1,000+ drones were formulated in the Olympic rings. A person, I think, skiing and snowboarding. It was just amazing. These drones came together and they made these figures. It was mind-boggling, and it was a production of Intel, and they did an amazing job to display that technology in a country that's known for great technology, such as Samsung. For those iPhone fans out there, once again, Samsung. South Korea, Samsung. That being said, Carl, there was a great display of technology. A display of human mind and our ability to take things to a whole new level. And that's through the blessings of Allah, that He gave us this brain and He allowed us to take thoughts and actually make them into real things, our ideas, and to formulate them into real living things. So that's the one thing that I liked. But the second thing, Carl, was when the world comes together. Watched Olympic opening ceremonies in the past, right, Carl?
Yes, and I have seen them in the past, and I watched most of this one.
Yeah. And the fact that these countries are coming out, some countries have only one representative. Countries like America had 250, I think, plus. We are 10% of the total American population. We also brought 250 odd Olympians to the Olympics this year. But the greatest display, Carl, was North Korea and South Korea came together as a united Korea. And to my listeners tonight, there's never a wall in humans' existence. Humankind, we can exist together even though some from amongst us may suggest otherwise. Carl, I'll tell you the truth. Here in America, over the last year, when it came to guns and gun violence and how the culture was truly changing, that people have guns and it feels they're right, and other people feel it shouldn't be part of society, and there's just this crater forming between the two sides that it's going to be impossible to merge it. It's going to be impossible. That was my take, especially after the greatest shooting that occurred in our time. And what was that, Carl?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. And so at that time, I was like, you know what? This is a dead cause. The people who are going to use the Constitution to justify guns, and those who are going to use their logic to say, you know what, they're not safe for us. This is not going to. It's a done deal. But then I came across a stat that 78% of Americans don't own guns, and that truly that baffled me. I was like, whoa, if 78% of Americans don't own guns, that means the majority still believe in something, and the case is not a lost case. The cause isn't a lost cause. Yes, people want to have their guns, be responsible. Those who don't want to have guns shouldn't feel intimidated or threatened by those who have them in a country that has a great system of law and safety and security. But going back to Korea, for these two countries that are known as global rivals and constantly in the news, North Korea, for them to come out together, we're humans. We have faces, we have emotions, we have blood running through our veins, we have a heart that's pumping it all, and we have a mind that's full of compassion and love, and we aspire for prosperity, goodness, and the ability to live a good life. So when you put that together and you bring forth the Olympics, Carl, it just solidifies that point. When you feel you're going to give up on humanity, no, hope is still there. We haven't hit a wall. We might have hit a hurdle, but as in the Summer Olympics, what do you do when you come in front of a hurdle, Carl?
You jump it.
You jump it. And I think we're jumping. Humanity is still jumping those hurdles. Let's not give up. Moving forward, Carl, there's so much more to talk about. We're talking about really changing times right now. And we're talking about how food stamps are being threatened for people, health insurance services are being threatened. It's just a whole lot of things. In this climate, my advice, and Islamic advice, is one thing that Islam taught us through the practices and ordinance and the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is never to nail yourself down. Carl, if you were to nail your shirt to the chair and you got up, what's going to happen?
Well, it depends if I'm getting a real echo from you.
Oh, sorry.
If it was a Venn Network T-shirt, that echo is still there. No, I'm getting a. Okay, it's gone now. But yes, if it was a Venn Network T-shirt, which I could find if I went over to vennetwork.org to help support this show and shows like it, it would probably be stuck to the chair still, even though it's a Venn Network T-shirt.
And that's why, everyone, we have Carl on this show. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to make that point. So he drags it home. So the thing is that if you were to get up, the shirt would drag you back down. The nail on the shirt would drag you back down. And in life, there's so much that's adjusting and happening. There's never to feel comfortable or fixated on a certain way. If you sleep on a bed tonight, if you're accustomed to eating 3 meals, eat 1 meal tomorrow. If you're accustomed to drinking soda, drink water for a week. The point I'm trying to make is when adjustments occur by force in our world, it's going to be very hard for a person to adopt it and accept it because it's very tough to make adjustments. But if you are amongst those Olympians, Carl, that when they're going down that hill for a ski jump, if their knees, and I know you're into X Games, right? You said? Okay, Carl,
Yes.
a good example right now to do my 780s or 960s or whatever those loops are, and I got stiff knees and a stiff body. What's going to happen to me?
You are going to be in a world of hurt.
A world of hurt. Carl, I'm going to reiterate that word, in a universe of hurt. It's going to be very painful because your body has to have ability to flex. When you look at their knees are always bent. Their ankles are bent. They are in a state that their body is like rubber. It's flexible. It's ready to adapt and adopt change that may come knowingly and unexpectedly. Sometimes they know they're going to hit the ground, and sometimes they don't hit the ground they wanted to and they actually tumble or fall. But the fact that the body is fluid, it's loose, it's ready to move, it adapts and it adopts. What we need to do in life is to adapt to what's happening and adopt different things than what we're accustomed to. Don't be stuck on one way and no other way. That's not the way that we should go. That being said, Carl, I want to share a story with the listeners tonight. Over the weekend on Sunday, I went to a funeral. Carl, you've been to funerals too, right? In the past?
Yes.
And but this funeral it's really stuck to me. So it was a 13-year-old girl. She was a classmate of my daughter, and she passed away with an ailment that her mother also passed away with. I believe another sister passed away with, and another sister now is facing that. And as much as that illness is the focal point for many people, or that person passed away from this, I could just imagine if I put myself into that person's shoes, the father, like your wife dies, your daughter dies, another daughter dies, and then another daughter has the same thing. And so I went for the funeral. The family went, and mashallah, mashallah, a lot of people from the community turned out. It was like a full house funeral. Classmates, schoolmates, teachers, and staff of this child who was in an Islamic school, and of course families and friends and people who were just from the community. And so I asked my friend after the janaza, I wanted to meet the father, and we saw this man who was embracing other people. So in the custom of certain traditions is people come to you and they embrace you and pray for you, and you receive those prayers. So Carl, I was doubting that was the man lost his daughter. And do you want to know why?
Well, I would assume it's because he didn't he wasn't sad and he wasn't stuck, like just immobile. And that's why you were doubting that it was him.
Correct. He was smiling. He was thanking every person. He was asking their names. He was thanking them for their presence. And I said to my friend, man, that's not the father. Then a guy came and met my friend and said, I'm his brother. I was her uncle, and that is the father. And so I went and met him, and I saw a sense of peace on him. And I learned something, Carl, that I want to share with my listeners tonight. Whatever Allah afflicts you with, He gives you the tools to deal with it also. The question is, are you going to take those tools out of the box or not? So Allah never burdens the human soul, as He said in the Quran, twice I can recall, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa ma ataha, that Allah never puts on a soul except for what it can bear, what it's able to take, withhold. And that's exactly what I saw in action. One is you read it in the scriptures, one is you read stories about people who had that type of patience, and one is you see it in action. So whatever difficulties fall upon us, so long we're trying to do our best that we don't bring those difficulties upon ourselves, and we live in a life that's adjustable. Remember the adjusting part, we are able to adjust. Allah will give us the tools. He will allocate for us tools at our disposal that we can use to help us during those trying times.
And Layla says that you are absolutely correct. Alhamdulillah. Which, I mean, she's kind of stealing my line. I mean, I'm usually the one that says you're right. So Layla's putting me out of a job here. But salams, Layla. Thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, and that is one of those tough moments where you know I do think about it. Not a lot. It's not like I'm like uber focused on it, but it is one of those things that you think about, because I have children, and when they get sick, you worry about those things. And, you know, honestly, I've been going through something with my daughter for the last couple of weeks, and, you know, you go to the doctors and you go to the emergency room and you go to the specialists and nobody has any answers. And there is that panic. And mashallah that this brother was able to see that, because I'm not sure I could as a parent, and just especially losing your wife and your daughter at the same time. So mashallah for this brother, and may Allah bless him and that family.
Ameen, Ameen, and may Allah bless their daughter who passed on, the mother that passed on, the other sister that passed on, and Allah give health to the one who is sick, and Allah give strength to the family. You know, classical example that I'll end this part with is that Allah said in the Quran that if we hadn't strengthened the heart of Moses' mother, the mother of Moses was already worried that Pharaoh was killing boys, and then she had the boy, but then she was told to put him into this basket and let him go. And then she saw where this basket went and whose hands her son came into. It's like disaster upon disaster upon disaster. لولا أربتنا على قلبها. If we weren't to strengthen her heart, Allah does that. So believe the same Allah that brings forth the difficulties gives you the solution, so that you can use those tools and see the benefit of that. And with that, Carl, I just want to change it to one more thing. Again, contemporary issues on a weekly basis, which affect all of us, which affect all of our lives, which affect all of our thinking and execution process, how we understand things, how we, put them together, and how we execute upon our decision-making process. It affects us. So, Carl, give us a sound. And that's the sound of the Haram Police. The Haram Police are out, and they're out in great droves, and they're out there showing themselves and exposing their mutawwa, their piety and God-fearingness, with all those social media posts about Valentine's Day is haram. Dude, the only date I have is in Ramadan. It's like, Carl, what's going on with these people? We have demonized something in our religion, which our religion was so open about. Having a relationship with the opposite gender isn't haram. Religion promotes, but in a halal way. But the way they go about taking Valentine's Day and demonizing it so hard is as if about proposing to someone for their daughter's hand is something off the table. Carl, first of all, I'm going to ask you, before our listeners take home that Imam is saying Valentine's Day is halal, I'm addressing that's out there, and bear with me. If you're listening to this, you need to listen to the whole thing. If you cut and paste, then this is copyright. Carl, what is the history behind Valentine's? Do you know?
So I actually don't 100% know. I know that it is supposed to be a day where we honor, it's a day to honor Saint Valentine, and but I actually heard something, and I was gonna Google it to see if it was true or not, but I heard about some really old school practices, and I didn't get to Google it, and that's, so, I mean, as far as I know, it's a day to honor a saint in the Catholic religion.
And just to put in perspective briefly, there are a few, there are I think two or three different narratives as to why we're honoring Saint Valentine's. But one of the ones that I found with consistency when I did study the subject was Saint Valentine's was a saint who, at a time when the king had forbade, because soldiers who were married and committed would not be with that same valor and strength as they would be if they were single. So he prohibited people from getting married. Makes sense? You cannot get married in my kingdom. St. Valentine's knew that this was wrong and people wanted to get married, hence, he conducted marriage ceremonies in secret. What's the silver lining here, listeners? The silver lining is in those days never went and had relationships unless it was in wedlock because they understood the sanctity of marriage. And when he said, don't get married, they could have said, you know what, we'll sleep around and that'll be fine. No, they went and they got married and they did it in secret. And when he was exposed for what he was doing, the king had him killed. And that was in commemoration of a person, a saint, who upheld the sanctity of marriage for a people that in their culture and in their world upheld the sanctity of marriage. Now, we don't have time to go into marriage. We're going to talk about Valentine's Day. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. If you have a significant other who is your halal spouse, be it your husband or wife, you can maybe take him out for dinner, give him some chocolate, buy some flowers. And if you think that's not good, do it tonight. If you think it's still too expensive, do it tomorrow night. Because after tomorrow night, the chocolates go on sale. They'll be 50% off, and the roses will be literally 75% off, and you could bring them home for the day after. But to express one's love and gratitude and appreciation for their spouse is not haram. And for us to go around making these blanket statements is a very despicable thing because our religion isn't hard and fast. Our religion is very fluid based on circumstances and situations and not one all size fits all. Carl, I want to end with a very interesting story here. A few years ago, I was in Boston and I was going to do a program in February, right before Halloween, Friday night program for the family. And Valentine's, you know what the topic was for the speech? They asked me, what's the topic? And I said, the topic is, will you be my Valentine's? Will you be my Valentine's? That was a topic by Imam Azhar after Maghrib at the Sharon Mosque. Okay, go back and look it up. What happened was after Juma, there was an uproar amongst the board because this was advertised like this is haram. How could Imam be saying that? So they changed it out and they wrote Valentine's is haram by Imam Azhar after Maghrib. Now, I come up, I didn't know much about this. I heard there was something, but I didn't know how significant it was. After this discussion, a youngster got up and said, is it haram for a husband to take out his wife? And I said, no. Is it haram for a husband to, for a wife to, exchange some flowers or something, or just to, revive that relationship? I said, no. And so he said, why did you change the topic? I didn't do that. And then when we found out what it was, and he told me, I'm like, your board did that. Your masjid did that. Go attack them. Don't attack me. So for those out there who are going to hold special sessions tomorrow in their mosques and centers, Valentine's is haram. I can promise you, those who know it's haram are not going to come anyways, right? But you are actually creating a culture where people don't have the opportunity to even appreciate their spouse because the history behind this holiday was a person who upheld the sanctity of marriage, and those who are married should revive the beauty of the marriage. And for those who are not married, be an inspiration that they too aspire tomorrow to grow up and get married and have healthy families and healthy relationships, rather than creating them into pushing them into a culture, a section of the culture that feels that you don't have to be married and you could fulfill your marriage needs outside of wedlock. So to the haram police, Carl, we need that noise once more. Could you give it to us, please? We just want to let you know, Haram Police, Raw Islam is coming because our religion is beautiful. Don't make it look bad because our religion is a balance between the left and the right. We are the middle path. So please do yourself a favor and eat a date tomorrow and don't hold it till Ramadan because maybe it'll go soggy by then.
And I just want to say for the record that I really enjoy doing that way too much. I don't know why, but that's okay. We all have to have those little moments of joy in life, and that was mine. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of Raw Islam with Imam Azhar. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on Facebook Live and everybody that has downloaded this on iTunes, Google Play, played it on Stitcher, and just everything else. We really enjoy our audience. We really enjoy the interactions we get. And special shout out to Layla. And Layla, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. Maybe it's Leela. I don't know. But salams. Thanks for joining us this evening. I want to thank everybody for everything. Don't forget Patreon. Check us out over there, Venn Network. Don't forget to go to vennetwork.org and check out the Venn Network t-shirt, which, by the way, I will be ordering one myself. So you'll all be able to see it here and see how it looks. I got a version of it this evening, a different version, and it's really nice. It's a lot softer than I thought it was going to be, and the printing was real cool and everything else, but that's beside the point. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember there are no walls. There are no huge walls. It is not haram to take your spouse, your halal spouse, out on a date on Valentine's Day. But, you know, if you do wait till Thursday, things are 75% off, which, you know, whatever. We will say, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.